Mastering passive voice. Know when and how to use it. Hello, language learners. Welcome to today's session on mastering the passive voice in English. We've all heard about active and passive voice, but sometimes it's tough to know when to use which. Today, we're going to dive deep into the passive voice and specifically focus on understanding when to use the passive voice. In English grammar, passive voice is when the subject of the sentence is acted upon by the verb. It's a way of expressing the same information that you could in the active voice, but it places the emphasis differently. For instance, in the sentence, "The cake was eaten by John," the cake, subject, is being acted upon, eaten, by John. This sentence is in passive voice. Contrast this with the active voice sentence, "John ate the cake," where John, subject, is doing the action, eating. Remember, the key to understanding passive voice is to focus on the action and who is receiving it, not who is doing it. There are a few scenarios where using the passive voice can make your sentences more effective. 1. When the action is more important than the actor. Use the passive voice when you want to emphasize the action rather than who is doing it. For example, the Mona Lisa was painted in the 16th century. 2. When the actor is unknown or irrelevant. If you don't know who performed the action, or if it's not relevant to the context, use passive voice. Example, "My car has been stolen." 3. When you want to be vague or diplomatic. Sometimes, it's better to use passive voice to avoid blaming someone directly. For instance, saying, "Mistakes were made," is softer and more diplomatic than, "You made mistakes." Using passive voice effectively can sometimes be tricky. Here are some common mistakes to avoid. 1. Overusing passive voice. Passive voice is a great tool, but it can make your writing less direct if used too much. Strive for a balance between active and passive voice. 2. Misusing passive voice in negative statements. Remember to put "not" before the past participle in negative sentences. For example, "The cake was not eaten by John," not, "The cake was eaten not by John." 3. Confusing passive voice with past tense. Passive voice isn't a tense. It's a voice that can be used in different tenses. Don't confuse it with the past tense. Passive voice is a crucial part of English grammar. Knowing when and how to use it can greatly enhance your fluency and understanding of the language. Practice what you've learned today, and before you know it, you'll be a master of the passive voice. Remember, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Thanks for joining us in today's session, and keep up the great work on your English language journey. See you in the next video.